Hello and welcome to the Raising Athletes podcast. My name is Kirsten Jones. I'm a peak performance and sports parenting coach. And I believe that doing this parenting thing as a coach, as a parent, as an athlete these days is really, really hard, which is why 5 years ago, Susie Walton and I started this podcast, #RaisingAthletes, where we love to talk to parents, athletes, coaches, administrators, authors, anybody in the business that can help shine light and give us some answers to some of our most boiling questions. I'm also now a recent author of Raising Empowered Athletes. I'm out speaking. I've been all over the country this past fall, working with parents, working at schools, working with clubs, getting the word out about how we can all partner together to make this a better experience for ourselves, but also more importantly for the kids. So I'm so excited today to have Brian Nash on to talk about one of the peak performance places that I actually wrote about in my book about, Andre Agassi's journey started here at IMG. And I would like to welcome the director of basketball for IMG. Brian, thanks for coming on.
No, thanks for having me, Kirsten. Excited to be here.
Yay, this is going to be so fun. So I love to talk about, we're going to get to IMG. We're going to talk about everything you do and how amazing your program is. But can we start with your journey? Tell us about, I'm a kid of the 70s, so I played every sport under the sun for whatever season it was. What was your journey like as a child? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in New York City, the area. My dad, so the whole thing starts off with my dad was a former athlete. He played baseball and basketball in college. Played Division I basketball, St. Francis College in New York, and played baseball, was actually drafted by the Philadelphia Phillies. And back in that year, which was probably 1961 or so, his signing bonus was all of $500, I think. So he had the decision at that time of the Franciscans. Obviously, he went to St. Francis College and St. Francis Prep High School. So the Franciscans were opening a new school in Brooklyn, and they offered my dad a position to be a baseball and basketball coach and to kind of start the school and start his career there as an educator, taught health and PE and was a baseball and basketball coach. So that starts my journey with growing up as a coach's son. So I was super fortunate, like you said. I played a lot of sports growing up. You and I were from the era where, you went out in the morning and you played in the street, you played stickball, you played whatever it may be, whatever sport it was. And, you didn't have your own trainer. You didn't have any set times to go. You just figured it out. You went to the park by yourself and, mom told you to be home by a certain time and you got home and you woke up and did it the next day. So for me, as I started to get older, obviously with my father as my coach, because my brother and I both played for him in high school. And, playing for your dad can seem like one of those things that's really good. You get a lot of plays run for you. You get a lot of shots. But as I tell people, if I didn't make those shots, my dad used to make me take the train home and he wouldn't drive me home. So, it was a tough love. Yeah, it was definitely tough love. And, I appreciated that because, I'm sure some of the stuff we may talk about, I don't know whether or not there's as much tough love nowadays as there was back then.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you played through high school or then did you continue on to play in college?
Yeah, so I play for my dad. And then, when you get to that recruiting stage and everybody wants to play at the highest level and me, like everybody else, wanted to play Division I basketball, go as high as I could. And I'm really fortunate that my dad gave me a ton of advice because, I working at the academy now where we have about 65 kids every year, boys and girls that we have to place in college. I mean, everybody's got aspirations of where they want to go to, but there comes a time of self-assessment where, hey, where can I be the most successful and what do I want out of my college journey? And I had a bunch of Division II scholarship offers and they wanted me to play right away. They knew me, they knew my position, they appreciated me. We had really good relationships. So my dad said, well, you can keep reaching and keep dreaming about getting a Division I offer, but hey, you're pretty fortunate right now. And So, made the decision to go to Keene State, and it was a great decision for my career and playing and my relationships. I mean, I had an amazing college career, and as we talked about earlier, the ball stops bouncing eventually, and what's your foundation after that? What are you about? What are your values, your beliefs? And because there is life after that, and you got to have a career.
Mm-hmm. So at what point did you know, at what age did you think, gosh, I would love to do what my dad did. I would love to have the whistle and help kids on the other side.
Yeah. So the next part of your journey after you get out of college, everybody says, oh, hey, it'd be awesome to go overseas. I wasn't going to the NBA. So it was, could I go overseas and play? And there were a couple opportunities I was waiting on. And in the meantime, I started coaching with my dad in the interim that fall. So I was an assistant coach kind of with him. I was substitute teaching at a junior high school in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, and the opportunity didn't work out overseas, and I finished coaching that year with my dad, and that was kind of it. I got the bug and started. My college coach had given me a lot of really good advice because he knew, I think, as the son of a coach, he involved me in a bunch of summer camps, working them as a counselor. 5-star at that time was one of the biggest camps, and he had connected me, and I worked 5-star camp every summer that I was in college. So I was able to forge some great relationships with some great coaches. And, I tell people I wasn't smart enough to do anything else. Coaching was in my blood.
I think I worked college camps too when I was playing. And I remember the first college summer, I didn't play much of volleyball in 4 years of volleyball, but we didn't even have clubs. So I played basically a year of volleyball up until college. And I remember going up to Tahoe to teach at a camp and actually having to think about, how do I serve? I don't even know, you just would do the things you do, and how powerful it is to teach what you do second nature, and how empowering it is to help the penny drop. Does you had mentors that really inspired you? Obviously your father, and was it the Keene coach, or who are your biggest role models when you started coaching?
Yeah, so my dad, obviously, like I said, he coached my brother and I. He kind of gave me the foundation for, because coaching, that era of coaching was totally different. There wasn't AAU, there wasn't everything. Mm-hmm. There was just the high school programs, and that's who you were with. I mean, AAU kind of just started in New York City back then, and there were 3 or 4 teams, and you had to be one of the best players to play on that team. So, my dad believed in character development and holding people accountable. And, it wasn't, all right, there was loyalty amongst the players back then. If things weren't going well for you, it wasn't like, all right, I'm going to transfer to another school and I'm just going to find a situation that's better for me. My dad, with all the players that I saw over the years, you worked hard, you waited your turn, and you worked hard, and hopefully you got the opportunity. And if it worked out for you, that was great. If not, then you know what? We were giving you some values and some things along the way. And then my college coach was obviously a mentor because you spend 4 years with him. But my first Division I job, I worked at St. Bonaventure University in 1993, 94. It was a restricted earnings coaching position, which I don't think a lot of the younger coaches now understand everything that we went through. The salary was $12,500, and every third assistant in the United States, whether you were at Duke, whether you were at St. Bonaventure, they all made $12,500. So that's how the NCAA used to have that model. But Jim Barron was the head coach there at that time, and I had learned so much from him because very lucky to have a mentor who didn't just teach you how to coach. He taught you how to run a program. He taught you how to deal with alumni. He taught you how to deal with student athletes. He had a saying that I kind of live with. It's, think like a head coach, act like an assistant all the time. It's don't forget the grind. Don't forget to, be a servant leader. Nothing is beneath me as a director here. I mop floors, I pick up trash. And, again, I think those things are super important for leaders and the things that you're going to teach to other people. So, Jim he was very lucky for me foundationally to spend 7 years with somebody that was time after time every year as I got older. He prepped me in my next steps to be a head coach.
It's amazing. And I think that I love parents who are listening. We talked about this before we started recording, but I think one of the benefits, or what I like to think about as I'm helping my kid, the ball stops bouncing for us all. So they need to be thinking about, okay, yes, I may be able to go in this direction for a while, but what are the tools and the skills that I'm gathering from this experience that are going to make me successful in life? And some of them are the things you're like, good. Oh, wow, this was an amazing experience. I had a great coach. I also played for some not so great coaches, and I learned some things that, wow, I really don't want to work for a leader like that, which is also very beneficial, right? Even though at the time, and parents right now, there's 2 sides or 3 sides to every story of the experience that you're having, but the lessons that you get out of these experiences, that's what sports is about, I think, for our kids, and that allowing our kids to have those experiences and us not getting involved. So maybe we can now shift over to where you are today. Speaking of that, let's do a little history lesson for those who don't know about IMG. Can you tell everybody about, how did it come to be and up to today?
Right. So yeah, as you alluded to earlier, started as it was a tennis academy. Nick Bollettieri started this as a tennis academy in this small area down here in Bradenton, Florida. They were separate academies at that time. Nick had the tennis academy. Then David Ledbetter, who is a famous golf instructor, came on and started a golf academy. Joe Abunassar had started the basketball academy, who runs Impact out in Vegas now. So they were independent academies at that time. Then IMG came in, put everything under one umbrella, started growing it, started the academic component, and then the rest is history. From there, it just took off, and we're now about 1,500 student athletes here in 9 sports. It's a 600-acre campus of a boarding school, and there's just some amazing things that happen here every day, and it's like the old saying, when you get up and go to a place to work that you love every day, it's not work. And this place is truly that. It's the Mecca of high school sports for us.
To me, it was kind of like going to work at Nike. It was kind of like going to Disneyland every day. You're like, yeah,
right.
Gonna walk around, and there's Michael Jordan, and there goes Kobe, and you're like, oh, and I'm working, right? So yeah, I feel. So what basketball? Let's drill down into basketball, and what does that framework look like? How many boys teams? How many girls teams? How many coaches? How many gyms?
Right. So currently, right now, we have 18 basketball teams. We have 16 boys teams, and we have 2 girls. We start at middle school, so we have the academy starts at 6th grade, so we have 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in our middle school program. Our 9th and 10th graders are in our junior national program. Then we go up to our varsity team, and then we have a post grad program. We try to tier things in each one of our age groups because we have different levels of players. The first thing that I always say, first and foremost, IMG Academy is a developmental academy. So our jobs is to, not only develop great players, but as we've talked about, great people. We have a holistic approach here. It's not just a great player or a great student. We believe so much in the mental conditioning side, the leadership side, the nutrition side, the sports science side. We want to educate all of our, young men and women to pursue to be optimal, to get to college so that they can have great experiences. And then, the discipline and the routine of the academy here, you learn a lot of things. You learn time management, you learn structure of a schedule. The one thing that college coaches will always say about our kids here when they go to college is that they're a year ahead already because they've lifted like a college athlete. The way our class structure is structured is like that. They practice 3-4 hours a day. They're in that setting. So, they get somebody that's kind of already there. And, the basketball program has grown. When I first got here, we had 6 teams, and now we've been able to build it out to this. We have 8 basketball courts right now. We just built a new $25 million structure here that's 35,000 square feet. That's got 4 more basketball courts with an arena that we really never had. So, it's an exciting time to be here, and exciting time to be a part of the program in the academy.
So if I'm a parent, having gone through, as we talked about before we started recording, having done the PG thing, I understand it. But a lot of parents don't know what the PG thing is, and definitely aren't as familiar on the West Coast, for sure, about going away to boarding school. You talked about a few of the benefits of it, but what does it look like from a, recruiting process? Like, how do you have like a matriculation? And as a parent, you want to know, okay, if I'm paying all this money, what are the guarantees? Are there any?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are super transparent early on. I mean, we talk a lot about the magic wand effect. I mean, we don't have magic wands here, but we do have methodologies and we have curriculums in place that are, they're tested. They've been over time, and we know from the return on the investment for a lot of our families is the college placement part. So we spend so much time on it. I invest so much into my time into it. It starts with a lot of education at the younger ages and understanding what the next steps are within the process. Education of schools, education of levels, because I think that's everybody wants to go to Duke or North Carolina, but over time, as you educate people and you come to a common ground, you want to find the best fit. And that's what it's all about, because the world that we live in right now is, as you well know, with this transfer portal, and families wanting instant success and instant gratification, that's not necessarily the case as we knew when we were going to school. I mean, if you didn't play a lot when you were a freshman, you figured it out, you worked harder, and then you got to your sophomore year and you tried to earn your spot. So our families, we work extremely hard, and the last year we had 66 seniors and postgrads between boys and girls that we needed to place in college, and 65 of them went to go play basketball in college. We had the other student ended up matriculating at a school that had an amazing engineering school, so it was okay. I'm going to pass on my playing opportunity to go to an incredible academic school that's going to set me up. So we take that very, very serious, and we've kind of staffed ourselves internally with a head of college placement within basketball. Our coaches do an amazing job, and we have 47 people on staff now. I know you kind of touched on how many staff members we have, but I think that's kind of the strength in our numbers too, because most of those coaches or staff members have been coaches, played professionally. And when you take 47 people and you multiply their networks when it comes to college placement, we really, to me, that's probably one of our biggest strengths when it comes to helping place our kids in school.
Mm-hmm. So take me through a day, and whatever, just at a high level, like for parents who don't understand, like how many hours are in school, how many hours are doing basketball, how many hours are watching film, like what does an average day look like for these athletes?
So we work on an AM, PM school model. Half of our students go to school in the morning from about 7:30 to, about 11:50. Then, they'll go to lunch. Then they'll have their sport component in the afternoon. So we're a college prep curriculum. So we just take core classes. So we're on A and B days like you are in college. You're taking 70-minute classes. The academic adjustment here is probably tougher for most of our kids because, again, I think one of the misconceptions about the academy over the years is, oh, hey, it's a jock academy. There's, the academics aren't strong, but we've invested so much into our academic component here and making sure that, we're sending kids to elite schools. I mean, we had 2 of our players go to Harvard in the last few years. They've gone to elite academic schools, Division III schools. So, that academic component to me is the bigger adjustment for our kids. So they're getting up early in the morning. If you want to get something to eat, you're up at 6:30. They get done with class 11:50. They'll have lunch, and then they're coming over to the gym from 1:30 to 5:30 or 6 o'clock for their weightlifting session, their speed and movement, their on court film sessions, like you talked about, depending on what time of the year it is. And we're really lucky here to have a component that we call APD. It's our athletic and personal development staff. Those are our strength coaches, our mental conditioning coaches, our leadership coaches, our nutritionists, and then our sports science team. So every one of our players, on our days that we have regen days where we go a little bit lighter on the body, we work on the mind. And, we have classroom sessions in each of those disciplines, and there are curriculum set up in those areas so that, we are developing that holistic approach. And our kids are just so much more prepared because they've experienced so much more.
I love that. And it is so much more than just being able to put the ball in the hole, right? It's understanding what are the most successful athletes you see? How do they show up? Like, what are they doing and taking advantage of in order to get what they want out of the experience?
So I think when you always talk about, what do those athletes have? I mean, I think discipline, they have a passion for it. But, the one thing that I've seen over the years that the most successful players have, it's kind of a combination of self-assessment and understanding the best version of themselves and what they are over time. And it takes a little bit of time to get there because, when you want to go to college, you're a piece of a puzzle. Or even if you want to make a high school team, you're a piece of a puzzle. And when you can do self-assessment and you can put the time and effort into the things that you do really well, that's going to allow you to be successful. We've, some of our players over the years who have struggled are the opposite side. They want to do everything. They want to show a coach that they can pass, dribble, shoot, rebound. And, there's only a few people that can do that at a really high level. So, to me, the most successful individuals have all those things with discipline and passion. But to me, I think it's, understanding what the best version of yourself is and actually self-assessing that, because that's hard. It's hard to tell yourself, hey, this is what I am. And to be afraid to say, oh, I can't do these things in order for me to be successful.
I know I've spoken with, as we've mentioned before, several of the other post-grad programs where the coach says, it's frustrating because some of these parents have this idea that their kids go in high major and they're maybe a low major or maybe they're even a D2. How do you navigate that? How much time do you spend working with the parents, or is this a relationship you're building with the kid and they're driving their recruiting process? Like, how does that balance work?
It's a collective group effort. I mean, we have to, we front end a lot with our parents. We want to find out where exactly their recruiting is at coming in, because a lot of families will tell you, oh, I was being recruited by this school, and this school. And, sometimes if you ever made a call to that school, they might not know who that individual is. So that's why I think communication and all those things are so important, because it's a journey that we start together from when we meet with them the first time, when they're, interested in coming to IMG. And then, when they do become a part of our family, we treat it that way. I mean, we want to communicate like family because, 5 minutes before I got on this call, we just had a commitment ceremony out in the gym for 4 of our players who just committed to schools, and their families are there. And, to see that come full circle and the journey and some of those players were here for 4 and 5 years. So to see their families cry and get emotional and just to thank us for, how we've gotten their kids to this point. And the kids have obviously put in a lot of work, but, to me, that's what our job is. It's a journey on that end. And, you don't keep everybody happy because people do want to, people want to get to the highest level, and sometimes they don't take your advice. And, sometimes that's when, unfortunately, the stories don't work out and people bounce from school to school. So again, the world that we're living in again too now is totally different, because the conversations we've had with some of our families now is way different than what we had 7 years ago, because I would never tell a family 7 years ago, hey, you might have to go here in order to get to here. But that's kind of the world that we're in right now, because the transfer portal has created, as schools want older players right now. There's a sense of urgency on winning and being good right away. College teams don't build programs anymore. They're 1-year teams. So you have to see where you fit into that whole, equation.
Do you think that's ruining youth sports? Like, we're even making the top of the pie even that much harder, the pinnacle to reach, right?
I think so. And to me, it starts, I've seen it trickle down all the way down to youth sports, because I've always used the analogy where, Brian plays on a team and Brian doesn't get a lot of time. So the first thing Brian does is he changes teams. He goes and finds another team to play for. And then if Brian doesn't play on that team, Brian asks his dad to start a team. And then Brian's going to get a lot of time because he plays for his dad. So I think early on you're starting the word loyalty is lost in any of this stuff. Because I know that when I played, I had loyalty to my high school team and my teammates and my school. And I think that's something that we've totally lost here, because everybody just thinks that there's an instant gratification and, there's no grind, there's no journey, there's no adversity. And, I have a 21-year-old and a soon to be 18-year-old. And I understand that part too. I never want to see my kids hurt, but yet they need a dose of reality, because I'd rather have them experience it earlier, because they're going to get it when they're grown-ups and when they're out living on their own. So again, I think that combination, along with us just, that loyalty piece of people not sticking it out and grinding it out, it's, I don't think we're in a good place with it.
I 100% agree, and write about that in the book, that pre-COVID, I knew of a player that went to 4 different high schools in 4 different years in 3 different states. And to me, that the message is, when it gets hard, bail, right? And I'm not saying there aren't reasons to transfer. I transferred, there are reasons to transfer. There are reasons it's not working out. But understanding that, and I agree, it's happening now at 6, 7, and 8, that whether we're going to be with this club or not, that. And here I live in Los Angeles. People are driving, an hour and a half each way to get down to a club that's on par with, with what they've got in their backyard. But they're just certain that that's going to give their kid the competitive advantage that's going to get them, I don't know what, but like onto the middle school team. I mean, at that point, it's foundation, building foundation, right? So yeah, I agree with you. And how do we teach them that actually adversity is, it's an important part of figuring out who you are, and it helps you learn that I can do hard things. I can get through this moment and I can come out a better person, actually, because of it. That it's actually a gift. And now, if we spend so much time snow plowing, drone parenting, clearing the path so that junior doesn't have to feel any discomfort, that we're actually robbing them of the opportunity to learn who they are and what they really want versus what we want.
Yeah, there's not a lot of trust in the process, right? I don't think that's something that people fully give the opportunity and give the chance to. And the ones that do, they're going to reap the benefits for it, I think.
So what about NIL? Where do you stand on NIL, and how is that affecting what's going on with your world?
I've always referred to NIL as like, it's one of those things, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. Where I guess fortunately right now, Florida is a state that does not have NIL for high school athletes. So we haven't had to deal with the day-to-day on it. We've done a lot of education for our players on it, and just with the hopes of when they go to college and dealing with it there. It's eventually going to happen quickly in the high school space, because I don't know how states can continue to not have it, because players will choose to go to other states, because I get the part where financially, if it's going to help your family out and you can do it, and it benefits you, and you have a small window of time to do it, you have to take advantage of it. But from our side, we've lost some players that wanted to come here who were higher level players, because we didn't have NIL. So that's kind of how how it's affected us here. But, the overall NIL picture to me is, it's a slippery slope right now too, just because of, the dollar figures that you hear and how the whole, the dynamic is growing, and how people are finding ways to be creative, and again, to be continued. I can't wait to see the next steps of it.
Well, my next question was, which maybe you've kind of already touched on this, but what keeps you up at night? What are the things that, if you could wave your magic wand, like what is your hope? What is your mission and vision for IMG basketball, and where would you like to take it?
Well, the one thing that does keep me up at night is, if a family is dissatisfied with something that we're doing, because again, we're in a customer-based business here, and if a family, I take it personal because I invest so much time and I love this place, and one of the reasons why I came back to this place, which I was in college for 25 years as a Division I head coach and as an assistant before I got here, and one of the reasons why I came here was because when you're in college, you can't really mold or mentor people. You can, I use the analogy, you can discipline them in college, but having the ability to come back to these age groups now, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th grade, and you can truly mold the kids and get them prepared for college. So I lose sleep at night when I feel like we're not doing that, or like we've let one slip through the cracks. And so again, I think that goes back to my dad's DNA, and that might be a different answer for a lot of people, but to me, I mean, I love my job. I work extremely hard, but there aren't a lot of things on the day to day that really keep me up at night, because I work with incredible people. It's a very stimulating work environment here, but the pressures of having 200 boys and girls in your basketball program that you want to have them have the best experience possible, because that's a word we use here so much. It's the student experience and the staff experience, all those things. We want to make sure that that's what you're putting your energy into, and those are the things that you're that you're worried about.
And so how long have you been there?
I'm going into my 8th year here now.
Okay. Well, and maybe this is broader than just IMG, but what I think why people get into coaching, or they get into teaching, or at least I know why I do what I do, is that hope that there was that one conversation or that one kid or that one opportunity that you made a difference. Do you have any stories that come to mind of somebody that came back to you and said, you probably don't even remember this, but when you said this to me, or this happened, or you opened this door for me? Does anything come to mind?
I mean, because of the number of student athletes that I get to deal with every year, there's a lot of those. So, I mean, that's I whenever we have like this past week, we've had 3 alumni come back because, it's break for the college students. When they get to come back to campus and they want to, you see the pride that they have in the academy and being a part of this thing, because this is an amazing place to go to school, and the experience that our student athletes they have here, they come back from college and say, hey, college is a little bit of a letdown compared to what took place here. So that makes us proud ultimately that we're doing the right things, and it's not just the wonderful buildings and the facilities we have. It's what we do from 6 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, and the number of years that the players are here. So for me, I'm very fortunate where there've been a lot of those scenarios where people have come back and said, you know what, thank you so much for being a part of my journey and helping me get to where I want to get to. And like I said earlier, the commitment ceremony that we had today, I mean, we had one player that's been in our program for 5 years, came as a middle schooler, and worked their way up and is going to one of the best academic Division III schools. And, to see that's really rewarding.
Do you care what level people matriculate to? We were talking about it earlier, and I know, got to go D1. Like, what is your goal in helping them figure it out?
Yeah. So I always tell the parents on the front end is that it's best fit. I mean, that's what we want. What's the size of the school? Do you want to go to a bigger school, small school? What part of the country do you want to go to? What's the academic side? What's your major? And then you throw the basketball piece on top of that. So I want to be somebody that doesn't contribute to the transfer portal. We want to have great education and we want our kids to have options so that they can make educated decisions on, sometimes you're forced into, especially in the world that we're in now, you might not have as many options as you did in the past. But, for us, hey, let's provide options. Let's talk about best fit. Let's talk about relationships. Let's talk about where a coaching staff knows you and who you are, and they appreciate you for what you are, because if they don't, then it's probably not going to work out. So to me, I think that's, the best fit is always the thing for us. And, if that fits the level that you really want to get to, then it's a perfect marriage. But I think we've educated families enough. The numbers are, the numbers are astronomical on how hard it is to get a Division I scholarship and how hard it is to get a Division II scholarship. Or, you're in the top 3% in the world if you go to play college basketball at any level. And, we're almost 100% in our placement level. So, again, I think that's something that our families look at. And when they're coming here, that's, like I said earlier, those are the things that I lose sleep on at night, because I know that families are making a big commitment to be here.
I always say you have to have the broken leg test. So what happens if I get there and I can't play? And I have a client right now who got to Texas from California, and the assistant coach left who recruited her. And she felt like, why am I here? Because the head coach wasn't really that invested in me. And the person that was really invested in me is gone. So understanding, like, to your point about fit and knowing I'm going to be happy here, whether the sport works out or not, is going to be, I love the academics. I love the location. You've got to look at all the pieces, which is really hard to do when you get like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed about the size of the school or whatever, the ranking or how well they did last year or the coach, or, the coach may be gone next year. So you just don't know. Right.
And then I think the other layer that's added on is the social media aspect of it, because everybody's got to have an announcement nowadays, and you want to have a big to-do on where you're going to school. And, that wears off after. It's great for the first, couple of hours, and you get some views and you get some hits and all those things, but then you got to go to school there and those things. So, again, I think that social media aspect is something that's really, I think that's a factor too that you don't talk about enough, because, a lot of our kids, it's a selfish world. It's not a selfless world. It's all about, hey, look at me, look what I'm doing, look where I'm going. And, I think some people base their decisions on what their announcement's going to be, as opposed to what actually is the right fit.
Yeah, very well said. I agree. Well, Coach Nash, this has been amazing. I'm so grateful for your time. And for parents who want to reach out or find you or follow IMG, where can they find you?
You can reach me. My email address is probably one of the better ones. It's brian.nash@imgacademy.com. Would love to have anybody reach out with any questions. And, this, I think, like the things we've talked about, I mean, this is our lives. And I think it's a long-term thing. It's not a quick fix. And, when you spend 30 years plus in these areas, I think you become experts at it. And, you don't have all the answers, but, I think you can provide a perspective to people that maybe sometimes they, maybe didn't look at, or because I know that happens with our families a lot.
And I get reached out now a lot to parents asking, should we do this? Should we go to a prep school? Should we? And I always say, cast a wide net. Talk to people, ask from their opinion and their experience, talk to 5 or 6 of them, and then see what's the best for your family, being away from home, not being cross country or not, being in a big program or small program. Same process you're going to go through for college. So I thought it was a great, again, introduction to how the process was going to work to get into college. And now for my older one, he's got to get a JOB here pretty soon. So you're going to do the exact, I'm like, here's the good news. What you needed to do to get recruited, you're going to use that exact same skill set to get a job. And that's what this whole thing is about. Not going to the NBA. No. It's about learning the life skills that are going to make you a better human.
No, you're doing amazing things. This is a great platform, and a super important platform at this time. So anything I can do to help you, Kirsten, let me know.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you so much. Parents, please like and follow and share and send us your questions. We love answering questions and helping parents, coaches, athletes. We all need to hold hands on this. This isn't, we point fingers at each other that it's their fault, and then we all are responsible for making this a better experience for all of us. So thank you so much for following along, and we're going to see you soon. Let's do this.